Here on this important day for journalism in our world, I, being in the old habits of journalist, I wrote this speech at 4 o'clock this morning, so I might add something to it or delete some of it. Many of us who use the internet, be it to write emails, browse its growing landscape, mining for information, connecting with others, or use it to organize ourselves in various groups of like-minded, are not aware of that our behavior online is being monitored. Profiling has become a default with companies such as Google and Facebook. These companies have huge databases recording our every move within their landscape in order to make ads directed to us. For them, we are consumers to push goods at, so that they can sell ads in a clever business model. For them, we have so far not been regarded as citizens with civic rights. But to be fair, I guess no one really knew where we were heading in the beginning. Not us, the users, and not the companies hogging and gathering our personal information for profit. Very few of us had the imagination that governments that claim to belong to democracies would invade our online privacy with no regard to rights we are supposed to have in the real world. We look to China and totalitarian states and expect them to violate the free flow of information and human rights online, but not our democratic countries. I guess the problem and the dilemma we're facing is that there is no proper standard. No basic laws in place that deal with the fundamental question: are we to be treated as consumers or citizens online? There is no international charter that says we should have the same rights as citizens in the real world. Our legal systems are slow compared to the speed of the development online. With the social media explosion, many people have put into databases very sensitive information about themselves and others without knowing that they have no rights to defend themselves against attempts by governments to obtain their personal data in countries this information is stored. According to the ruling of the judge in my Twitter case, and also Rob Gonford's Twitter case, we have fortified these rights when we agreed to the terms and conditions by the company hosting our data if it is kept on servers in the USA. We have to rely on companies, for example, Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Twitter, to look out for our interests. It might not always be in the interest of these companies to look out for us, but I want to stress that Twitter did fight for the interest of the users in my Twitter case by going to court to unseal the secret document demanding them to hand over personal back-end information about their users. The document Twitter managed to unseal stated that they were to hand over this information without our knowledge within 3 days. If they had not managed to unseal the documents, we would not know how far the Department of Justice is reaching to get their hands on our data and how difficult it is to guard our privacy in the borderless legal jungle. I am, for example, not a USA citizen, and because of that, I am not protected by the First and Fourth Amendment of the US Constitution. But users from the USA are protected by the same case by these fundamental rights in the same court battle. The reason we humans make international treaties and declarations about human rights is because somewhere along the line we agreed that certain rights are sacred and universal. We need to make the same principles applicable to our human rights online as they are offline. These two worlds are fused together, and there is no way to define them separated anymore. I want to go a little bit into the environment you guys are working in. Media morphing in cyberspace. The media is in transition, morphing from the traditional format into the online media format. Most people want to be able to access news online, and usage of traditional media is shrinking day by day. The mainstream media has not figured out how to make profit or how to survive online without cutting off many of the services we have learned to depend on, such as investigative journalism and in-depth analyzing of complex matters in simple, easy-to-grasp terms. In this fragile morphing stage, the media is faced with increased challenges from international legal firms that specialize in gagging the media. More out-of-court settlements are occurring every day. Super injunctions, prior restraints, and attempts to alter historical records online is on the rise. Criminalization of whistleblowing and filtering of online content is also of great concern. And another concern is online profiling. Let's say I'm a researcher or a journalist and I'm doing a research on child pornography or terrorists. My every search online is recorded, and this search attached to my online profile. This profile can become a serious threat to my person if handed over to authorities that might have a thorn in my side for stories or research that is not to their liking. And this is not only a threat in China or Iran. This can be very easily a threat in countries like the United States. Members of parliaments all over the world are encouraged, for example, to use social media to be in touch with their voters. And I'm sure that users or civilians online are encouraged to be in touch with journalists online. However, many people, they don't understand that sending a message on Facebook or via Twitter or Gmail is not an official pathway. And by the way, if you send an email via Gmail, it is like sending a postcard for anyone that wants to have a look at it, if they have the tools for it. The voters or the users send sensitive information about themselves to their MPs online. With court ruling in favor of exposing this information to a foreign government, such as in my case, the line of privacy and sovereignty of individuals in cyberspace has taken a new direction. There has to be a debate on global and local scale on what should remain secret or sacred and not put into public or private circulation. Education and clarification on what rights individuals have with social media and other data gatherers. Some social media companies guard their users, while others don't. Thus, a legal guideline is needed. Until then, we simply have to trust it is in the best interest of the social media company to watch our back. And a little tip to authorities that don't want to let go of the Big Brother tendency on the cyber citizen. It is a lot easier to migrate in cyberspace than it is in the real world. People, despite the new voyeurism trends, don't like to have their privacy invaded. Massive exodus of information refugees might flee from the US-hosted companies if their rights are not respected to countries that are not as hostile. One of the prime influences in shaping a profound understanding that I don't belong to any one nation, that I belong to all of this planet, was my participation in co-creating the landscape of the new world online. In 1995, I started working with the shapers and pioneers in the internet landscape in Iceland and beyond. One of my passions was to merge creative spaces, music, poetry, and art, because it all bleeds well together in the multi-creative space of the internet. But that was not enough. After all, this was a new world, without borders and without limitations other than the limitation of our imaginations. Like-minded people found each other no matter where they happened to be located in the real world. We could work together, trans-border, trans-culture, transgender, trans-party, trans-race. It was a world of transparency, almost beyond duality. Borders were just an optical illusion. It was as close to paradise I could get in this human vessel. It was almost spiritual. It was as if the collective consciousness had taken on tangible shape in a virtual world that was influencing the real world at an increased speed every day. My dream was that this world we created with the free flow of ideas, information, and understanding could manifest itself outside the virtual. The internet has given us the tools to empower ourselves in the real world with knowledge beyond the cultural conditioning we acquire within our own culture. The internet has given us the tools to work together beyond traditional borders, and it has allowed us to create real windows into the real world that reach far beyond our cultural beliefs about other countries. However, this world beyond borders is now under serious threat, a threat that is growing at an alarming rate. I have seen the development of the internet since its early visual stage. I have seen how it can improve and enrich the quality of life. I have also seen how those who hold the reins of power in our world have discovered that the internet needs to be tamed. That other media has been brought under control by industry and the state. My last hope of gathering momentum in stopping this development is through the free spirit within the wilderness of the internet, where the conditioning and the reins of control have not been able to tame the free spirit who roam with the hacker's manifesto singing in their heart. I have seen new stories and new myths emerge out of the language of the internet, where people speak together through Google and translate new languages. And I've